The 17 News at Sunrise podcast is brought to you by Clinica Sierra Vista.
Welcome back to the 17 News at Sunrise podcast, where we share your news on your schedule.
Working in the spirit of the Golden Empire, this is 17 News at Sunrise.
Good morning here at 5 a.m. Thanks for waking up with us. I'm Maddie Jansen alongside Alex Fisher. 17 News is your local election headquarters, and candidates are in their final sprint to convince you they deserve your vote. There are only 15 days until Election Day, although voting's already underway across the state, including here in Kern.
And as voters get ready to make their decisions, the candidates for governor of California squared off in their first and only debate ahead of the midterm. 17 Capitol correspondent Eitan Wallace has more.
Well, keep in mind this debate aired primarily on the radio and competed directly with NFL football. Nonetheless, it focused on the issues facing California.
2022 California gubernatorial debate.
Democrat Gavin Newsom and Republican Brian Dahle squaring off at KQED headquarters in San Francisco in the only California gubernatorial debate of the election. Right up the top, both candidates going after each other.
And I want to start out by thanking the governor for taking time out of his going forward on his dream of being president of the United States and actually coming to California and having a debate.
And I've barely been out of state. I was out of state for a few hours to take on his party and his leader of his party, Donald Trump, who he was a passionate supporter of, and what they're doing to democracy.
Among the first topics to come up, abortion.
I will absolutely fund reproductive services, but I am not going to fund out-of-state abortions.
What about in-state abortions?
No, I will propose that, yes, I'm pro-life.
You're not pro-life, you're pro-government mandated birth.
On high gas prices, Newsom says oil companies are taking advantage. He wants to see a windfall profits tax on them, while Dahle wants to see a pause on the gas tax.
Well, the gas tax holiday is the fastest way you can actually help drive down inflation.
May I just, because this is a talking point from the right, and we've seen other states that have moved with gas tax reductions, and we haven't seen the commensurate reduction because there is no guarantee. It means more money in the pocket of big oil companies.
The candidates also talking education.
We're identifying solutions every single day. High-dose tutoring, reading specialists. In high-poverty schools, providing more staff, changing staff ratios, community schools, the investments we're making after school and summer school that we know work, preschool, to allow people the opportunity to have that early start in life. All things you have consistently opposed, and we know these policies work.
But yet,
so with respect,
why are the test scores so low?
We just made these investments in the last few years.
California parents are leaving our education system because it's so poor. And it's not been fixed under your watch or the watch before.
And finally, the issue impacting communities up and down the state, homelessness.
He throws money at everything, but what are the results? Exactly. What are the results? He spent $20 billion, $75,000 per homeless person, and we have 22,000 more. It is growing. Absolutely, we know the number.
When I got here, there was no homeless strategy, no plan. No resources of any merit. Today, there's $15.3 billion. There's a real strategy, real plan, and there's accountability for the first time.
And as for where the campaigns go from here, Newsom will continue with business as usual, while Dahle says he's going to go on a statewide truck tour that will end in San Diego at the end of the month. Reporting here in San Francisco, Eitan Wallace, 17 News.
Meantime, during that debate, Governor Newsom spoke directly to Kern County and Bakersfield about the oil fields here, as his administration plans to end oil extraction by 2045. What his plan is to help Kern County's economy and the hundreds of millions of dollars that could be headed our way, and why his opponent, Brian Dahle, says it will still force people to move out of the state. That story coming up at 5:30.
In just 2 days, 20th Congressional District candidates Kevin McCarthy and Marisa Wood will face off right here in the 17 News studios. The outcome of the race could affect the partisan balance of power in the U.S. House of Representatives. Of course, McCarthy is the House Minority Leader and has been in office since 2013. Marisa Wood is a junior high English teacher at the Fairfax School District. Their live debate is set for 7 p.m. Wednesday right here on KGET. If you have a question you want us to ask candidates, send us an email to 17news@kget.com. Type question for the candidates in the subject line.
Today is the last day to register to vote if you would like to receive a mail-in ballot before Election Day. You will still be able to conditionally register to vote starting tomorrow through November 8th at the Kern County Elections Office or at any poll site on Election Day. Meantime, all registered voters in Kern were sent a ballot a couple of weeks ago, and elections officials say if you have not received your ballot by now, you will need to contact the office to get a new one.
Health Health Watch this morning, now to a dire warning from doctors about a rapidly spreading respiratory virus impacting small children nationwide. Doctors say kids with RSV are overwhelming hospitals and pushing emergency centers to the brink. For most adults, it's rarely deadly and can mimic just the common cold. But for infants, it can be severe.
There's a lot of concern that this is just the beginning of the respiratory viral season. And so many of us are very concerned about that.
Her rib cage very clearly, when she was doing every single breath, it was going in and out, in and out.
There's also the flu rapidly spreading earlier than usual. In San Diego, more than 1,000 kids missed classes due to an outbreak. Experts say pandemic precautions could be driving the reason for the outbreaks, since many kids were not exposed to other viruses over the past 3 years.
Pfizer announced plans to sell its COVID-19 vaccine once the U.S. government stops paying for it, according to statements from the drug maker. The vaccine, developed with BioNTech, would be sold at a price of $110 to $130 per dose for teens and adults. The estimated price for Pfizer's shot is in line with other adult vaccinations for viruses such as hepatitis and shingles. However, people with Medicare or private health insurance would most likely pay just a fraction of that cost or nothing at all. Shots will be packaged in a single-dose vial rather than multi-dose vials that have been used throughout this pandemic.
A Kern County jury found Wendy Howard not guilty of murder in the shooting death of her ex-boyfriend who molested their teenage daughter. The jury also considered lesser charges of second-degree murder, voluntary manslaughter, imperfect self-defense, voluntary manslaughter, heat of passion, and involuntary manslaughter. Ultimately, they reached verdicts of not guilty on everything except voluntary manslaughter, heat of passion. The jury deadlocked 7-5 in favor of a guilty verdict on that charge. Howard was charged with first-degree murder after she killed Kelly Reese Pitts outside her Tehachapi home in 2019. She testified that she confronted Pitts about the molestation and then shot him as he drove toward her on an ATV, fearing for her life.
And in that debate, Kern County and Bakersfield were specifically mentioned as both candidates spoke about our local oil industry. Newsom's administration plans to end oil extraction across the state by 2045. The decision is part of his goal to address climate change. But that has left many in the Central Valley, specifically Kern, asking what will happen to the local economy if oil is phased out. Newsom says it's not just about saying it's a transition.
We put $600 million in this year's budget. My opponent opposed that $600 million allocation to create a framework to provide support and economic opportunities in that region. We modeled it after something called Fresno Drive, which we launched a few years ago, and BK3, which is around the Kern County area in Bakersfield, a novel strategy to build partnerships, public-private partnerships, public-public partnerships. I'm also very proud to see the transition in Kern County already as one of the world's leaders in renewable energy because of our renewable energy policies.
And what he's done in the last 4 years is throw money at every single issue, more than there's ever been. And what are the results for Californians? Higher gas prices, inflation, homelessness on our streets, our schools are failing our children, and people are fleeing California.
Local leaders have expressed frustration with the governor's office, including multiple times in the last few months, saying not enough is being done to transition Kern's economy away from oil.
And we continue to cover the deadly fentanyl crisis happening in our country and our county. Tomorrow, a local school district will once again address the use of Narcan on campus. Narcan is an opioid reversal spray. The Panama Buena Vista Union School District, which has 23 schools in Metro Bakersfield, including 5 junior high schools, will have the second reading of a policy to use Narcan on campuses. According to the board meeting agenda, the policy would allow the school nurse or other personnel who've been trained to use Narcan on anyone believed to be suffering from an opioid overdose. District policy forbids students from carrying medications on campus, even when prescribed. Student meds are secured in the office or nurse's station for safety and security reasons. However, Narcan, it should be noted, does not have any documented adverse effects, whether the person receiving the life-saving nasal spray is or is not actually suffering from an opioid overdose.
Professional athletes from the Dallas Cowboys and Boston Celtics are reaching out to an Arvin student who was bullied, and that video went viral. Protesters demanded that Arvin High School take action after a disturbing video was uploaded to social media. The video, which we cannot show because we don't have permission from the owner, shows a special needs student from Arvin High crying while other students cut off chunks of his hair. The video also shows a person who appears to be a school security guard laughing at the student. The student's mother was distraught, she says, after learning what happened to her son.
My son is a good kid. He's very innocent. The only thing he wanted to do was fit in and make friends.
2 Arvin High staff members have been placed on leave following the video. Over the weekend, a pair of professional athletes, Micah Parsons of the Dallas Cowboys and Marcus Smart of the Boston Celtics, tweeted their support for the family. Parsons later tweeted he had made contact. We have not been able to independently confirm whether Smart or Parsons contacted the family directly.
Your time is 5:36, and we're learning new details about the terrifying events that unfolded in a maternity ward at a Dallas hospital when a gunman opened fire, killing 2 nurses.
For labor and delivery, active shooter.
Saturday morning, a gunman walked into a maternity ward at Methodist Dallas Medical Center. Hospital police shot the suspect, who survived and is now under arrest for capital murder. He's been identified as 30-year-old Nestor Hernandez, a convicted felon with a long rap sheet. Officials say he was on parole, still wearing an ankle monitor, but got permission to be with his partner, who was giving birth at the hospital. The Dallas police chief calling for more accountability, tweeting, "Under this broken system, we have given violent criminals more chances than our victims. The pendulum has swung too far." The 17 News at Sunrise podcast is a production of KGET and Nexstar Media Group. For more on all of the headlines in today's show, head to kget.com.